Is there no Pete today?
We never said we were going to have Pete. Pete never agreed to be with us. That was something Borgmaster invented wholesale.
Okay.
And then Pete never responded to. He just didn't want to play another Fire Emblem game because it might be too hard for him. It might make him play with the tiles. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, good people, and welcome to Off the Deep End, a Deep Listens podcast where we cover role-playing video games in depth. I am your host and the horse-riding lord of this operation, Braden, Arbitrary Water, Redacted. Joining me is the lowly armor knight with a sword, Chris Zombie Pie Redacted.
I'm here to finally tacticalize our conversations, and hopefully I'm not the hardest to recruit like Stefan and 9.
Or Xavier and Thracia.
Or Donald. Or Yarne.
Yeah. You know, people like Donald, but what they don't know is that Donald's not actually that much better than anyone else. If you in fact put as much effort into leveling up any other character as you would into Donald, they would end up just as good.
You like Radiant Dawn. Do you take the time to get Oliver?
I mean, it's easy to get Oliver in Radiant Dawn. And I don't like Radiant Dawn. I made a whole tier list. We discussed it.
Yeah, I'm forgetting the tier list. I apologize for insulting you.
Radiant Dawn's okay. It has some problems. It does some things that upset me. But not doing things that upset me. Adam Borgmaster Redacted is not here. He's busy doing things, so he claims.
If you follow him on Twitch, you might be aware that he didn't play this game, but he's playing a different classic Fire Emblem game.
And he's a little baby. He's a little baby. He's not going to listen to this, so I can say this. If he listens to this, he's still a little baby. Oh no, I had to tactics in my tactics game. I couldn't just pair up my units together and win. I couldn't just throw Ryoma into a group of enemies and win.
There's a certain character that you can just toss into battles. Okay, you know what? We're burning pod. Anyways.
Anyway, hello, welcome. We are doing an episode on Fire Emblem Seisen no Keifu. Genealogy of the Holy War, as it is localized. It was released on May 14th, 1996 for the Super Famicom in Japan. Not in America. No one in America knew what a Fire Emblem was.
Until Smash Bros.
Until the Smash Bros. And to this day, Roy being in Smash Bros. Has tricked probably tens of people into playing Fire Emblem The Binding Blade, one of the worst games in the series. You heard me right. You you out there. You one of three people. But yeah, Fire Emblem did not come to the United States until 2003 with the seventh game, which just came over here as Fire Emblem. The fan name for it is Blazing Blade. It's a whole thing. But Fire Emblem Genealogy with Holy War is the fourth game in the series and the last game to have a huge involvement from Shozo Kaga, the creator of the series. Kaga does have credits on Thracia 776, but he was not like one of the leads behind it. He was more of a producer role, and maybe or maybe not working on Tearing Saga while still at Nintendo.
Taking industry trade secrets with him and
Yeah,
exploiting that knowledge.
we'll talk about Tearing Saga and or Bearwick Saga at some point. But this is the first game in the series with the weapon triangle. This is the first game in the series with waifu pairing. This is the
Child
first
rearing.
game in the series with really big maps.
That are usually giant squares.
Yeah, I mean sometimes there are mountains and or choke points, but uh in a lot of ways this is kind of the for as much as like Mystery of the Emblem, which is the third game of the series and came out in 93 for the Super Famicom. That was the best-selling game in the series until Awakening. That's kind of in some ways viewed as the archetypical Fire Emblem game. I would argue that this game is the originator of most of the things that people associate with Fire Emblem, other
And
than Marth.
and most people that say they like Fire Emblem today haven't ever played this.
No, of course not.
And why is that, Braden?
Because it's only in Japanese.
Yeah.
It who knows? Maybe it still has a remake that Nintendo has been sitting on for years. Maybe they'll secretly release it before Fortune's Weave comes out, he said, hoping.
And before we talk about the game itself, for those unaware, this game had one of the most problematic and troubled development cycles of a proper Nintendo game up to that
Yes.
point. This game was long and the production got incredibly bloated in part because Kaga wanted to pretty much get the most out of the SNES cartridge. Um, and even as development progressed with a desire to really push the technology, it had no fewer than two internal reboots to accommodate as much of his vision as possible. And then people started to leave the project. There were multiple rewrites, and the initial gameplay was a squad based tactical game rather than your usual Fire Emblem game. So they even wanted to mix up the formula significantly before they settled on the then usual and still usual Fire Emblem format of managing a major army that grows depending on your actions and how you engage those around you. This is in comparative, at least comparatively to previous games, a game that has a huge emphasis on storytelling, which we'll talk about later, but it really is the first Fire Emblem that gives a shit out of the story and has genuine characterization with, obviously the big thing being that you need to have a child.
Yeah, they're children's, as you say. You love to say that word. Oh, this is also the last game that Gunpei Yokoi is credited on.
So it's a big deal. It's like a passing of the
Before
torch in a lot
he
of
got
ways.
kicked out of Nintendo and then made the Wonder Swan and then died in a car accident.
But yeah, a lot of people left the project. A lot of people got burnt out with
Yeah,
what Kaga wanted to do. There were time constraints. We are pushing up against the clock of Is it time to transition to new
The
hardware? Should
Ultra
we start thinking about
64.
this? Should we think about some weird peripherals to extend the lifespan of the SNES? And
This came out a month before the Nintendo 64 launched in Japan, I
yep,
believe.
which is part of the reason why it never got a proper translation.
And
Because by the
yeah,
time they would have started work on this, plus this game has a massive script, so by the
yeah,
time it would have released in the United States, the Nintendo 64 likely would have come out in the United States.
yeah. Yeah, there was no way this was ever going to be localized, and
And
falls into, I would say, the same camp as a lot of interesting late model SNES games where you can see the ways in which it is pushing the hardware. Yet somehow the sequel slash side story to this game um came out in 1999.
yeah, well,
But
it's a weird release for Thracia 776 because in
that
Japan, it
the
originally
Nintendo
released
Power.
yeah, it originally released via an order form from the Nintendo Power. It didn't get an actual Nintendo Power release until 2000. So it was the millennium by the time you could
Yes.
actually go to a store and see a wild copy in person.
Yes. And not a the Nintendo Power System is one of those like cool Japanese things that I feel like people don't talk about how ri crazy it was.
Yeah.
So you would buy a blank cart,
Yep.
and then you would go to a station at, like, the Super Potato or whatnot, and you would download one of the games they offered through that system onto that cart.
Yeah, man.
Like, that's some that is weirdly forward facing.
Dude, Japan had wild ideas when
Yeah.
the bubble economy was still at
The
the top
the
of its form.
Satellaview is another weird late SNES thing.
Yeah. The Satellaview. Other than us, think of how many people have thought of the Satellaview recently. Probably just emulator people, but
Yeah.
we did.
They found another Satellaview game. That's fun.
So,
But
anyways, this
this
game.
this game originally got a fan translation in the early 2000s, in like 2004. Um, it is it's the one that you and I first played this game with.
Yeah, like, so how does. Okay. Before the official release of Fire Emblem and its explosion via the Nintendo Awakening,
Yeah.
how did one. How did you and I even know of or learn of Fire Emblem Genealogy
I
Holy War?
played the first one that came out over here on my Game Boy. I
Yeah.
was the correct age for it to become part of my identity. Uh, and I played the shit out of that game.
Yep. Pretty much same
Um,
thing. I played the GBA game,
yeah, and then
and
I played a lot
liked
of
it.
Sacred Stones and Path of Radiance.
And as a result of playing that GBA game, I learned of Fire Emblem games that never came out. It's like, wait, so that Marth guy actually has his own video game, and there's a way for me to play his video game in English, even though it didn't come out in
Yeah,
English, using the internet. Say
it's
what?
true.
I guess I'll do
Uh,
this. But yeah, we both played the original fan translation for this game.
which is
Full disclosure, it wasn't a very good fan
uh,
translation.
you know, the as we kind of covered in that fan translation podcast we did like 4 years ago.
Beggars
Um,
can't be choosers.
beggars could not be choosers, especially in the early 2000s, when these sorts of fan translations were like, it was cool that they were getting translated at all. We don't need to talk about. So as of this recording, this is right after the fan translation for Sega Gaga got dropped,
Yeah.
and we were both so excited right up until we found out it's like, oh, this was originally machine translated. and then they just had people look over it.
Uh-huh. It was
And
a very, Simpsons Homer goes to the ancient Chinese antique store and goes,
it's food.
That's good. Oh,
It's
that's
bad.
bad. Oh, that's good.
It contains potassium benzoate.
That's bad."
That's bad.
And it's a bummer because I think that's like near the top of my list. I just want to see what that game is. And it turns
Yeah.
out that, you can make the argument as people made to Braden and I on a certain Discord that isn't ours that, using AI and Chat GPT is a part of the translation process, which I do not accept and do not believe is
No.
true.
No.
Um, you can make that argument all you want, but it turns out that that translation's just butt.
Yeah. But a newer translation came out in 2016 using, some of the officially localized names from various Nintendo sources.
Yeah.
I guess
Which
it
I've always said is part of the it's gonna kill me when they actually do this long rumored, long fabled game, this reboot remake, whatever the fuck this is that they apparently Nintendo is sitting on and not doing anything with. That's gonna fuck me up, dude. Because I still playing this better translation that we did this time, I still call these characters the old bad
Yeah, it
names.
took me a bit to be like, no, the localized name of the Pegasus Knight you get in part 1 is Fairy, not Fury. And other parts where it's like you can tell the fan localization, like the original fan translation didn't understand, like, no, this character is named after like an individual from Celtic mythology or something. And so they just kind of transliterated it. It's a lot for me because yeah, I still have a lot of those old names stuck in my head.
But yeah, play the most recent translation that fixes a lot of those
Yeah.
errors. This most recent translation was in large part an effort done in reaction to Thracia finally getting a translation,
That's
which is
right.
the in quotation sequel to this game. No, it's not
Yeah.
in quotation. It is a sequel to this
Yeah.
game.
It's a
Even if
side
it
story
wasn't
slash sequel, but it
even if it
is
wasn't made by the people who made this game because it's around the time that most of them left.
yeah. And founded Tiernanog.
Yeah, it's studio that we maybe I don't know what
We
it
should
is.
do
Like
Bearwick Saga.
Bearwick Saga is weird.
Like
I have a
Tearing Saga
low
is just like secretly the real Fire Emblem 6,
yeah,
but
because
Bearwick Saga is its own insane thing. It's got hexes.
I prefer hexes. Anyways,
Yeah.
so
And staggered initiative
you had to
where
know how to download a fan patch to play this game back in the day, unless you
an
knew
an
Japanese.
IPS file.
Yeah, you had to patch it using like
Yeah.
your favorite IPS system, which was is still maybe lunar for me, but yeah, it's not exactly it's a highly regarded game for fans of the series, true fans of the series, but it's still if someone were to tell me that they like Fire Emblem, it's one of their favorite franchises, and they haven't ever played a Kaga game, like I can't force them to do this and Thracia because they're not like readily available in any
No.
non-Japanese
Hey,
language. Like
remember
I
when they put out that first game on officially in English and then just threw it in the Disney vault?
remember how certain like portable games are technically reboots of those old games. Like
Yeah.
we can't get into it, but remember. Anyways, so yeah, like if you are a DS fan, DS era fan especially, I would say Awakening. Yeah, you kind of owe it to yourself to do a little bit of research and figure out how to play this game. It's kind of the genesis of everything that you love about modern Fire Emblem in a nutshell. but it's hard. That's the thing, is like Kaga don't fuck around. It's
Game
hard.
is hard, except when it's not.
Yeah, I mean Thracia is the harder of the two.
Thracia is intentionally malicious in a way that this game is not. But let's get into it. So, the biggest difference between this game and every other game in the series
Especially in the
is,
modern games.
especially the modern games, is there are only 12 maps in the game, but that's because each level is a giant map that basically reflects like a piece of geography in the world. And so you are moving your units between, the various castles, various groups of enemies, and kind of, trying to hold your own while the enemies attack you. There are in true Fire Emblem fashion, there are characters who have weird esoteric recruitment requirements. In Kaga tradition, there are weird hidden secrets that can help make the game significantly easier.
And they're all super esoteric to get those weird secrets.
Hey, you should have Arden wait on this one specific square in chapter 2 so that he gets the pursuit ring.
You need to put this character next to another character for X number of turns without killing them.
Thankfully, you don't have to do anything that hard.
Oh, you know what I'm referencing.
Oh, I'm talking. Well, yeah, if you want the Earth Sword, there's some of that. um,
And he has certain biases for every game. Every Kaga game has a bias.
yep,
There's a unit or a type of unit that he prefers or likes more than all of the other characters, and
and
this
it's
is not a secret.
horse
It's
unit.
usually horses. And
Uh,
with the exception of one game, he fucking hates axes. Just
yep.
hates them. But there's
So
one game that's not like that.
yeah, so because these maps are so big, your horse characters, your mounted units tend to be the ones who can get around the easiest because they have the most movement. Surprise. This is also one of the few Fire Emblem games where the red and green duo you start the game with are kind of bad. So for the first part of the game, the main character is Sigurd, and Sigurd is without a doubt the most powerful Fire Emblem lord. Like, you can make arguments that like Robin is more broken and like,
Yeah.
but that's like Munchkin stat stuff, right? Whereas Sigurd is immediately great. He starts mounted, he starts promoted. He is given a silver sword very quickly. This silver sword will be your greatest weapon for most of the game.
Indeed it is.
And he has tremendous stats. And
Yeah,
because of
a
the way
very
weapon
good
weight
stat.
works, he's basically going to double attack almost everything. So that's where the bias comes in. Is this is, I think, the first game that had weapon weight as a factor. So on paper, you can see the idea that, like, swords are the fastest, lances are the most accurate, and axes are the most powerful. In in practice, no. It's
Mhm.
swords all the way, and then you get some very good lance units, and then you get one good axe unit in the first half of the game, and no good axe units in the second half.
There's even a
Uh,
bias with like how, the magic system work, which homes are the best.
yes,
And that one I think is pretty obvious. If you can get
wind
magic,
magic.
there's one magic that's better than all of them.
Wind magic is better than thunder magic, is better
'Cause it
than
has
fire
less
magic,
weight.
and it's because fire magic is super heavy. Uh, and it's just one of those weird design quirks that I feel like would have been
You get
ironed
used to.
out in a newer game, but
Mhm.
because they're here in this game, it gives it an identity.
Mm-hmm.
Like the
So
first your first wizard, like your first magic user is Azel, who specializes in fire magic.
he
And
sucks.
he's not very good. He's okay. He's
As a
fast enough
use,
that
it's just
he can overcome the weight problem, and magic hits hard enough against most enemies that he can do work. But you can get through a large chunk of the first part of this game using just Sigurd. Like, if weapon durability wasn't a thing, you could probably solo the game with Sigurd. I think people have tried. Um, he is ridiculously good, but that shouldn't stop you from trying to use other characters. So this is also the first Fire Emblem game where characters have personal skills. And for some ungodly reason, one of those perfect personal skills that matters is the ability to double attack is put behind a skill.
Hmm.
There are and there's pursuit, which is basically modern Fire Emblem. If you have 4 higher speed than the enemy, you will attack twice. There's also continue, I think it's called in this game, where if you have like 8 higher speed, you have a chance of doing another attack, and those two things can stack with each other. But for the most part, that is a big divider between which units are great and which ones are not. And that also gets into we'll talk about it later. The the optimal waifu pairing.
yep.
So yeah, how would you describe like the flow of these first couple maps? Because you start with
Um,
Sigurd,
you
and
start with Sigurd.
he's got his two Cavalier buddies, Alec and Noish, who are both kind of whatever. Alec is fast but doesn't have any strength. Noish has good skills but doesn't have the stats to use them.
Yeah, it's a lot of like quick hit assaults of enemy targets. You usually start on either the eastern half and have to work your way to the west. That format has done Fire Emblem very well over the years. Um, I think chapter 1 is the Girl of the Spirit Forest, and then there's a prologue where you are he's the prince. You are introduced as like the son of an elderly king, and you have to Noise, Alec, and Arden travel
Yep,
to Verdun.
yep,
Um, I think it's the first true level though is obviously chapter 1 going into
yeah,
chapter 2, if you wanna make that
yeah.
argument.
Yeah. The prologue is pretty short and mostly just gives you access to all of the units. But the way the game works is usually you will capture an enemy castle, and
Mhm.
then a group of enemies will spawn from the next castle and then start moving towards you,
Every mission has a secret character or 2.
or a
For
secret
example,
thing.
in chapter 2, if, a member of Sigurd's army defeats, Kulain in the Augustrian area, he will join your side of the war. That's not a requirement. He can not join your war. You could not have that happen.
There
Um,
are um yeah, like the way you get Holin is you need to beat him in the arena. Which
it's
your castles have access to shops, and the arena. Of note is your character's inventory is locked to them. They have to, if you want to move items between characters, you need to sell that item at the pawn shop and then buy it with the other character, which leads into some of the interesting like metagaming elements involving like if you kill a boss and get the thing they drop, but it's not useful for that character, you need to sell it off and have enough gold with another character to buy that item. And that's
well, and
where
then
thieves come in.
yeah, there are also characters that you can buy. The most notable example is probably Beowulf.
Yeah, Beowulf, you bribe him basically for 10K and he'll join your army. He's good. He has good skills. You should do that. But yeah, so there's a lot of like stuff that you basically would never discover on your own in true like weird old Super Nintendo RPG fashion. And I think the biggest of these is Lex's Brave Axe. So
Yep.
Lex is a mounted axe knight. He has a paragon, which means he gets double experience, and he has vantage, which means he attacks first when under half hit points. And he's a tanky character with a lot of HP, so this is actually a very useful skill for him. But the way he becomes great is if you put him on a specific tile in Chapter 1 with an iron axe, which if you do that, he gets a brave axe, which allows him to attack twice, thus bypassing the part of, axes being slow. And there's
Yeah,
a
because
lot of stuff like that.
his growth rate is, barring his defense, sucks ass.
I mean, everyone's growth rates in the first part are kind of
And he does have like a rapid level lead, but like
yeah.
it's not good. And you're just stuck with Lex using axes. So if you don't get that brave axe, he is fucked.
He's not going to be that great. He would be okay without it, but
Because he doesn't have
with
follow up, so you have to usually give
yeah.
him the follow up ring.
Yeah.
To, like,
so
be on par.
there's
Yeah, like I
there's
know like
that,
the different builds of
and then
all
there's
three characters.
Arden, who is he is your token armor knight. He uses swords, so he's not useless. He has really good strength and HP, and not so great everything else. But yes, in chapter 2, if you have him stay on a specific square, he gets the pursuit ring, which gives him double attacks, which means he can double attack basically anything that isn't using a sword. And that makes him significantly more useful. But more importantly, it's probably the thing that makes him a decent candidate for fatherhood.
Yeah. I mean, Lex is also a pretty good character for fatherhood, but yes. I
So
usually
yeah,
pair
it's
Lex
a
with
lot of
Ira.
moving your units around kind of as a blob. There are sometimes like surprise enemies that will come from behind and try to like take your castles. But for the most part, you are moving your units as a blob, running into the enemy who is running their units as a blob. And you are basically trying to manage that in a way that leaves none of your units dead.
Yeah, you usually very rarely is there an upside to you breaking up your party into small groups because the enemy doesn't do it. Why would you? And that leads to a common complaint with some of these older games, which is the enemy AI is stupid as shit. It's
Yeah.
very easy to game that AI. I think you and I both know, like, as long as you understand how long it takes to, or the spacing between you and the enemies, you can always kind of have a little bit of an advantage. But if you don't check your moves and you just rush into battle, you will eventually get your ass kicked.
Yeah. You will eventually get your ass handed to you if you are not careful. There are some units that are like very much for utility purposes. Dancers in this game will give all 4 units around them another turn. So you can do some really powerful setup stuff with that. Thieves are very interesting in this game because there are no treasure chests that you need to open. Instead, thieves steal money from the enemy and can give it to your other units, which gives them a lot of utility, especially when you are, say, moving powerful items from one character to another.
It's why you sometimes take the risk of having Dew in your party.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Oh, by the way, you can move. There's no limit to unit deployment. You can bring all of them, which means, everyone can get at least a little bit of experience or at least contribute a little bit. But for the most part, especially in part 1, you know which characters are going to be the ones that do the work for you and the ones that you need to do work for.
Yeah. And again, this is the classic era where it's not an option that you opt into. If a character dies, they die forever. So
But
when
you
you do
can
get,
save every turn.
yeah, you can
That
save every
is,
turn, which is a mercy. Oh,
yes.
it's such a mercy. And as Jeff would say, there's no such thing as cheating in a single player game. So
Yeah.
if you're save scumming, like God intended, uh, do that.
Yeah.
But maybe don't play the game like I play it.
No, don't do what he does. The best, yeah. So the best units in the game are the ones who uh have holy blood. They are descended from one of the 12 crusaders, which gives which technically adds on to their growth rates in a really weird way, which doesn't matter for most of our purposes, but it matters in the sense that uh characters with holy blood tend to be better than the ones who don't have holy blood, unless
I
those
mean,
characters have really good
Holy
skills.
Holy Wars is in it. It's in the name. It's in the
Yeah,
fucking title.
yeah, and and then the super useful characters are the ones who get their holy weapons, their signature holy weapons. That's why Leywin is so good in part 1, because he gets Forseti, which gives him plus 20 speed and is a wind tome,
Juan
which
gets
means
Guy Bolg, and if you can get Guy Bolg, he's an unstoppable murder machine.
for the chapter you can use him with that.
Uh,
And
sure. Normally, you just give him the speed ring, and you're fine.
yeah, and then and then Sigurd eventually gets Tyrfring, stuff like that. Uh where all of this gameplay stuff really comes to a head in an interesting way, in the way that I think makes the game a lot more replayable and interesting, is once you are done with chapter 5, the game time skips forward like 15 years, I
Yeah,
think.
about
Um and
you
you control the next generation of characters who are everyone's
and
kids,
their
basically.
offspring. Yeah, and their offspring. So I guess we should explain how this works.
Yeah.
So the prologue plus chapters 1 through 5 are told from the perspective of Sigurd.
Sigurd.
Then there is an intermission, and
Yep.
this intermission is where things get weird. So Sigurd, let's just say Sigurd dies.
Yeah. Sigurd
Arvis
gets
is
nuked by Arvis.
Arvis is the emperor of Granvale. He has 2 children, Julius and Julia from
Yep.
Deirdre.
Yeah.
He subjugates all of the other kingdoms, and Lord Arvis has basically unified the entire continent
Yeah.
of
So basically,
Jogdral.
in the first half of the game, you are tricked by the villains into uniting the entire continent under one army, and then once you are no longer useful, Sigurd gets nuked with a giant meteor. And then it picks up in part 2 with his son Salif.
Yep.
Salif?
Salif. We're gonna have to
I,
wait until they put
listen,
voice acting in
yeah,
this new
until
game
they
that's
have
coming
voice
out.
acting, because in
However, Braden, how is it that if this next chapter is how all these characters, it's you controlling the offspring, how does this work? Do you just
so let's
RNG
talk
it,
about
or
inheritance. So
yeah,
you fuckers out there who were like, I need the optimal pairings for my awakening characters. No,
you have no idea
you
what
have
we
no idea, because the choices of pairings you can make can significantly affect the difficulty of part 2. So there are characters in part 2 that you will always get. You will always get Salif. You will always get what's his name? Oife. You will always get Shannon. And fuck, I don't remember his
I
new
don't
name.
remember. I'm looking it
It's
up.
not Alice anymore. It's something.
This is the part of the game I know that I
Yeah.
always forget the most is the
Anyway, the point is, you do get like a number of decently powerful characters in part 2.
Hmm.
But everyone else is determined by who you paired off all of the ladies with. And
Yep.
each of the ladies has 2 kids, one male, one female, in very convenient fashion. And with one exception, the female characters inherit most of their mother's equipment, while the male characters inherit their father's equipment. Both children inherit skills and, growth rates and, various number crunchy ways. And so there's and by the way, you pair characters together by making them stand next to each other until the game tells you they're a couple.
Okay.
Sometimes certain characters will have event conversations with each other that are very proto support conversations, and those usually will increase affection points, and also are usually ways to get like good items. Like, for example, if a dean, who is your staff user, uh the game would like you to pair her off with either Jamka or um the Medale.
Right.
Yeah. So basically 2 bow boys. And if she is romancing either of them, she gives them a brave bow. You can also romance her with Azel, which you should not do, but if you do that, she gives him like Bulganin or something.
Yep.
You can romance with her with Azel, but you see, Azel is a little mage boy, and her son Lester is a bow user. So if you pair her with Medale or Jamka, her son will inherit his father's bows, and will, both Medale and Jamka have decent stats. Both have pretty good skills. The biggest difference is uh Medale has pursuit while Jamka has continue. So it's basically like, do you want the one with better stats, or do you want the one who can double attack more easily?
Yeah, I usually put like I usually have a thought process for stuff. Like the funny thing is that you can also pair someone with nothing. The only character that I would ever consider pairing with nobody is maybe Sylvia,
Sylvia.
because I prefer having Claude's her best pairing, and
Yeah.
sometimes I will pair Claude with Fury.
Yeah.
Other than that,
Oh, by the way, if you don't pair anyone with any of those characters, or they die,
you
you
get
get replacement units. And with the exception of the people
maybe
who
a
replace
couple.
Sylvia's kids, they're all bad.
They're all
And
terrible.
people have done all replacement runs of this game before,
Neither of us fuck
and
with that.
I'm not gonna fuck with that because I like to have fun with my video games, and also that just means you are way more reliant on the units that are good, that are already good. So, it just means that Salif is going to do more heavy lifting.
Yeah, but usually the replacement characters are just not good in the first
Trash.
place. They're
They're
just
just trash garbo.
trash.
Uh,
Except, like you said, Sylvia's kids aren't great.
Sylvia's kids are both support characters. So one of her daughter's the dancer, obviously, because she's the dancer, and then her son is a little priest.
And there
So
are better
and
mage boys compared to him.
yeah, so you can pair her with someone, and her kids will turn out pretty well. But the replacement characters have a couple extra benefits that make some people say they're better. It's Listen, we don't need to get into forum arguments from people that are like 20 years old. But basically you can do a lot of interesting mixing and matching. And while there are definitely like optimal pairings, uh there you can do a lot of interesting stuff.
Yeah, like
With
does the game doesn't really like if you make an suboptimal pairing between two characters and their offspring, that character is still going to be better than the replacement character.
Yeah. Like, and also Ira's
Period.
kids are going to be good regardless of who you pair her with,
Yeah,
because
because
Ira is one of the best units in the game,
yeah,
because
she
she
is
has
one of the
she
best.
has Astra.
Which is a weird thing because the Navarre units usually don't have Astra, and that's not how they get their power, but she just has it, and as a result, she's just better than
Yeah, she
everybody.
she can attack 5 times at full power, not at half power like modern Fire Emblem games. She just gets 5 attacks and it procs constantly. So both
I
of
would
her
also
kids,
I would also
by
take
default,
this
not bad.
I would also take this system over so offsprings and all this stuff. This is something that was a part of this era of Fire Emblem games, and then obviously notoriously, there was never an N64 Fire Emblem game, a controversy that we will not talk about on this podcast.
Yeah,
And then when the franchise comes back and Nintendo actually gives a shit about trying to release these games outside of Japan, there were alternatives to you know, the offspring system that were kind of developed. My least favorite by far, and I think both of us are not fans of this game, is Shadow Dragon,
yeah.
which has unique units such as Norn and Athena that will only join the player if you have less than 15 units on your roster.
Yeah,
Otherwise, they
we
will
don't
not
I
join.
don't want to talk about the ways in which Shadow Dragon incentivizes you to kill off your own units so you can see the side chapters. It's
Yeah,
weird.
it's weird, but this is a mechanic that is a genuine part of Fire Emblem
Yeah.
that gets bred out to make way for the face touching
Yeah.
persona relationship shit,
And
and I miss
also,
it.
let's be real here. It doesn't matter who you pair with who in Awakening. They're always going to be good. It's Awakening. Okay, but yeah. So,
Anyways, so this game has a story that's goes places like we've
yeah.
already spoiled. You have this weird moment where the character that you've called your protagonist, Sigurd, just gets myrtleized and
Yeah.
framed, and all of the characters are like, "Fuck, we just did this giant call to adventure and we failed."
Yeah. You got tricked.
And that's cool. You can't use the Valkyrie staff on him to bring him back. He's just dead. Um, and so you have to kind of pick up the pieces and prove to the world that this Arvis guy is a bad dude.
Yeah, and
Um,
it's basically, yeah, Salif being like, "All right, we're gonna finish the fight. We're gonna fix what our parents couldn't, and we're gonna do it."
it's
Um,
It's a
It
dark
is
story,
it
right?
is
Like, it's not.
yeah, it is significantly more involved than a lot of than the previous games for sure, but like there's a lot of dialogue in Kaga fashion. There's a lot of stuff where characters um there's a lot of stuff happening off camera, a lot of things, a lot of statecraft, and Sigurd is kind of a useful dupe for a lot of the first part, and then the second part, yeah, is basically Salif rebuilding a resistance and stopping the empire that is now over everything.
Yeah. So it really is about you now playing Salif, trying to right a wrong, recruiting, the children of your dad's friend,
Yep,
and you eventually kind of. I think the big crux is like Salif and Altina basically get the pieces moving,
yep.
and
Uh,
you just outright declare war on Arvis,
yep.
and
Arvis has been working with the Dark Evil Cult because it's still a JRPG. The Dark Evil Cult wants to resurrect their dark god. They have done so in Julius, who is Arvis. So, by the way, this game is about incest. In
yeah,
that one of the main plot points is the Dark Cult tricking two half siblings into having kids in order to resurrect the Dark God.
yeah, it's
It's a
you wouldn't
choice.
you wouldn't exactly make this the way that it is today. Let's just say.
That's something I would be interested in seeing if they address in a hypothetical remake.
I think they
I
censor it
don't think they
completely.
will.
This is absolutely something that will get censored and completely edited
And
out.
or written around.
You should probably I give Nintendo and whoever has made this game that they're literally apparently just sitting on. I give you full permission to change that scene entirely. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, you're
Um,
fine with that. You're fine with there's also
just say that you're making a Rosemary's Baby where like the baby is
a lot of
Hellspawn.
women getting brainwashed.
Getting brainwashed and or sexual assault or just an assault in general is
Yeah.
implied. There are war crimes. God, what's the time to war crimes in this game is pretty favorable
Yeah,
for a
like
Fire Emblem game.
yeah, and then yeah, there's like the Eid massacre, which is I think genuinely one of like a very sharp
It's one of the
it's a sharp moment. It's using game mechanics to show a story event.
yeah, you
Uh
get surrounded. So the Aid massacre is probably one of the most beloved individual moments in all
in
of
yeah.
classic Fire Emblem. What essentially happens is it's where
In the last
Trevant.
chapter of Sigurd's campaign,
Yeah.
Quan and Ethlin, so Quan is his brother-in-law and Ethlin is his sister. They come in with the cavalry and they're like, "All right, we're here to save Sigurd." And then Trabant, who is the leader of the Wyvern people, the Wyvern Riders, shows up and is like, "Just actually no.
We've been following you.
We've been
We have
following
you
you.
surrounded you.
We've surrounded you. We also all of these units are using horse slayers."
And you watch turn by turn while the game kills these characters that you've
Yep.
probably spent hours upon hours of building up, you know, becoming affectionate towards and like giving good shit. You like I just did the joke. You can give Quan this holy lance, Gay Bolg, which has been like this legendary weapon and it's been built up as one of the best things. It doesn't matter. He's going to die. And it's incredible. It's a genuinely like this is the moment that I think about of why I think, if you're an Awakening fan, if you're a Three Houses fan, you need to see this cuz this is like the first truly
They're doing some
amazing set
crazy shit
piece.
for a Super Nintendo game.
Yeah, it's an amazing set piece with like characters realizing that they're about to die. Like it's an emotional scene. You're
Yeah.
watching this game play nice with its mechanics and the limitations of the SNES. and you're watching these characters die before your eyes, and it's incredible.
Yeah.
And not to say that like some people have kind of I think engaged in histrionics and saying that the game peaks at this point. I like the ending of this game where you
Yeah.
actually have to just take shit to Arvis and like take him to town.
Yeah.
And in Fire Emblem, great Fire Emblem, uh, classic Fire Emblem form, the last mission's not actually that hard.
No. No.
That was always a Famicom Wars problem. And later would translate into like Advance Wars, where the last mission of Famicom Wars and Advance Wars would always be one of the hardest missions. I'm looking at you, fucking that last Strom battle where you're
Yeah.
dropping meteors every 2 turns, you fucking piece of
Yeah.
shit.
Sturm. Yep.
Um, but the last mission is not, it's meant to be cinematic rather and that's the thing that I think about is, like, as much as I wanna complain about how I think that some of these missions are too much of giant squares where you're on the right, enemies are on the left, and you have to meet at these different
Yeah.
places. The cinematography almost, which is a weird thing to say about a game that is 16-bit, the direction and the cinematography is incredible for a game of this era because it's truly conveying a a little bit of like slightly safe
Yeah.
story, fantasy story, but it's still great.
It's doing a lot. It's doing a lot of very interesting stuff for a Super Nintendo SRPG
Mhm.
in an era where most of these games did not have very complex stories. That said, people who are like, "Oh, the story's so deep." It's like, no,
No, it's a fantasy
it's
story.
there's a lot of wordy. It's very wordy. There's a lot of talking, and it's also like the first Fire Emblem where characters will have incidental conversations with each other.
Also, let's not pretend that this is a deeply unique experience because it is a game that is definitely pulling its inspiration from other sources that are very obvious.
Yeah,
I'm not even gonna like use the term token esque, but there is an aspect to that. This feels definitely also like something that maybe owes a lot to Ursula Guillen.
yeah. But there's like characters plotting amongst each other, and a lot of this is like the first Fire Emblem where there is just a lot of narration between chapters on a big old map. This is the first one where that happens. Because before that, it's just like Martha's got to stop the Dark Dragon.
And yeah, the bad guy is very evil.
Yeah,
Arvis, I
like
think that like
Arvid.
if there's something to criticize this game for, Arvis is just your usual like the most he's the most generic fantasy villain ever.
Yeah, like it's immediately clear that he is up to no good, and then he betrays you and becomes the Emperor,
And he
and then
so
his
much
and
so
then
that
his son is the Dark God.
there is like an element to this game where it's like, why are people okay with this? This guy is clearly a dick. Like, why would
Because
anyone ever
dark
dark
cult,
magic,
dark
dark
magic.
cult magic? But yeah, it's this game's good, man. I
Yeah,
I didn't play this all for this most recent playthrough of this game.
I got
Um,
all the way to part 2, and I feel pretty good about that. I think the biggest slog is actually chapter 2 specifically, because chapter 2 has a lot of just dead space between castles where you're just spending turn upon turn moving your units.
I mean, that's kind of like the Kaga format where the you were so in theory, the way that I think Kaga has like said this because after the failure of his post Nintendo studio, he kind of kept an incredibly low profile before coming back and making one of the most generic and depressingly wrote strategy RPGs I've ever seen my entire life. But
Yeah.
the way that he always build these games where is like, okay, once you get past the prologue, past the first part of every, halve, the battle was really meant to be like you were only supposed to play one battle per day.
Yeah.
And you definitely get that sense because some of these battles are like a solid 2 to 3 hours, like
Yeah.
all things
No.
considered.
These maps are big.
And they have multiple parts and phases. And that's cool, but boy howdy, you stream this game, Relkin streamed this
Yeah.
game, Borg is streaming Thracia as every now and again, every blue moon. There's a element to where you do one battle and you just feel exhausted.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a bit of a pacing. A bit of a pacing.
There's a bit of a pacing problem, which is a known issue, let's just
Yeah.
say, right? Like no one's ever going to say that Thracia or Genealogy are the best paced games and they don't have fluff or filler. They do. They really, really do. But on the flip side, there is something about playing this game, and I've said this before. There's something about playing a Fire Emblem game and rolling credits, and you don't have to replay it to
No.
get the full idea of what this game actually has to say. And that's something that we lost with the modern reboot games or the current era of Fire Emblem games that we play now. And I miss it so badly. Because I'm going to be honest, whatever this next Fire Emblem game is, if I have to play it like more than once to just get the entire story, fuck that. I am getting older. Braden, you're also in your 30s. We're getting old. I don't
Yeah.
want to have to do the three houses thing ever again. I really don't. And I realize that I've
I
lost that battle.
don't. Well, listen. If Three Houses didn't make me play the first 10 chapters, that are the exact same between all of the routes, and also everything else,
But
all of the school and
yeah, there was something quaint about
It was
playing a
nice to
Fire Emblem
replay
game.
this game. I definitely don't need to replay it again, and I will probably actually roll credits, go all the way to rolling credits again because it's been all right. It's been an all right time.
Well, there's nothing as audacious as the Aid Massacre in the second phase with Seliph. It's definitely better paced. Like it's much more up tempo than the first half of the game with Sigurd. It's just you don't have Sigurd to YOLO dolo solo your campaigns.
Yeah,
But I like this game. Is
I
there
like
anything
this game
else that
too.
is there anything that you want to like? Okay, well, I guess I'll pick your head because you and I are of the same mind. Is there something that you miss about the Kaga era that's just not
I
non-existent in the
miss
current era?
weird esoteric stuff.
I miss that. I also miss, and I've already said this to you, and I think you've reacted. It's like I see where you are, but you're a sicko. Is I miss it when this franchise gave a shit about the tactics, i.e., I miss when this game would give you like 4 or 5 pieces of bullshit, and you
Yeah,
just had to deal with the bullshit.
this game kind of does that, but also in some ways also lets you counteract the bullshit in part two.
Yeah. I mean that's really more of a Thracia thing, which is
Yeah,
why
I
I
mean
think I'm
Thracia is they give you all bullshit all the
they give you
time,
all bullshit all the time, and you just
but
got to
it's
deal with
okay
that.
because you can also do bullshit. That's why I like Thracia. Thracia is equal opportunity bullshit.
Yeah, it's great.
One of the most overpowered warp staves in the entire series.
Have you ever played any of like the fan ROM hacks? Have you ever played Fire Emblem Binary, which is
No,
the Japanese fan community effort to try and rebalance this game to make it, in quotations better? I know you're aware of what Binary
I
is.
yes,
They make the combat triangle less of a it's yeah, that's
yeah,
exactly it. Is like so for those that don't know, Japan loves this game.
yeah.
Unsurprisingly, Japan loves
This
this game.
was definitely considered like the best game in the series by old heads in Japan.
I think it's like one of the better selling ones, even though it apparently didn't review especially well, considering that it is. Reviewers actually hated everything we just mentioned. They thought that the battles were too big, the maps were too
Yeah.
boring, that the game is a slog in the middle part of Sigurd's chapters. However, it did do well enough. It's like the second best selling game in the series, and as a result, like it was an old head thing. This is most of you kids today listening to us talk about this know the franchise as Advance Wars, but there was a period of time when Famicom Wars was absolutely outselling the pants off of Fire Emblem, and it
Yeah.
wasn't even a contest. Famicom Wars was selling so much
I
better
mean, Advance Wars outsold Fire Emblem
until they killed Advance Wars.
until they killed Advance Wars with Days of Ruin, which
Ugh.
listen, Days of Ruin, I'll give Days of Ruin this.
They
The
did something
multiplayer's
different.
fun. It's a
Yeah, they
fun
did something different with that
the
story.
single player campaign fucking sucks.
Yeah, it's
And
just
not just because it's like some
constantly
real
kicking you in the dick.
well, it's
It's edgelord's
basically like
bullshit, yeah.
trial and error puzzle maps is my problem with.
Which there are definitely maps here that and, well, it's just Kaga, and
Yeah.
even to a degree, like Fire Emblem today, there are maps where it feels like
Haha, I tricked you with my Trixie.
and then you're like, "Oh, shit, so I guess I have to redo this battle and just consider this bullshit that you sprung on me in the middle." Um
Yeah.
Which is also something that the modern games don't do, but the modern games just have a lot of filler battles that you're just doing to for the sake of grinding out
Or you
stats.
can literally grind.
Yeah, I
And you
you
can
don't need
kind
to
of grind
grind
in
here.
this game in
You
as much
can,
as
but you're
like
not
every character has access to the arena,
going
but
you shouldn't. You really shouldn't unless you're like a sicko like me, where you
yeah.
have to see everything, which is
They're
something we already
characters
talked
who
about.
are just not going to
Go back to
promote.
the episode where we talk about ogre battles where I went
Yeah.
full sicko mode, if you
Yeah.
want a sense of how much of a sicko I am
Well, you didn't
compared to
enjoy
Braden.
it properly, so
That person. So yeah, like I don't for me, I like it when Fire Emblem games are kind of busted and like
yeah.
imbalanced. So the idea of like people taking the time, like that, I checked out Fire Emblem Binary, which it tries to like even it out to do a global rebalance where characters with like minor holy blood can actually wield holy weapons,
Yeah.
which is no, I don't care that they have a penalty of 50%. Fuck that. No, no.
I don't I'm not here for a if I want a balanced experience in a Fire Emblem game, there are other games I could be playing. Although
Yeah,
I have played a ROM hack for Binding Blade called Project Ember that very significantly rebalances the game in a way that makes several units way more viable in ways that make it more interesting to me, but that's a different game.
yep.
Uh yeah, I think this game is still great. I think the tacticsing part of it is definitely a little bit more uneven than I remember cuz it is a lot of like blob on blob combat, which is the thing I complain about modern Fire Emblem,
Salif
excusing
is
Engage.
Salif is kind of a popular character.
Yeah, well, people know who Sigurd is now because of the mobile game. So, at some point when that remake comes out, which it definitely will cuz it's definitely real and not not
Sigurd was chosen to represent genealogy of the Holy War
yeah,
in
in
Engage.
Engage, and he gives your units canter, which is great. By the way, that's the other reason why horses are good is because they have when after they attack, they can use the rest of their movement.
Like the fact that genealogy of the Holy Wars only has one emblem and Sigurd still kind of burns
Yeah.
my
So,
asshole a
well,
little bit.
listen, no one, there was no Fire Emblem game before Awakening in the minds of the unwashed masses. the
bullshit.
the peasant class, the people who are like, oh, what if I lose a character? Then you restart, you baby. That's what
I
you
don't know.
do.
Okay, sure, fine. I'm going to shoot my shot. I'm going to say the thing that I've said to you countless times. This
Yeah.
franchise needs to figure out what the fuck it wants, because if you're
Well,
going to make people play these games and have like a huge crux of these games be
and
the
have
persona relationship stuff
have an
and a
ensemble
story,
cast.
and if you want these games to have an ensemble cast, you cannot continue to have this permadeath system. You have to give it up, because no one is
But if
ever
you give
going
it
to
up,
opt into this. No one
your
should
history's
opt
erased.
into this,
I
because
do.
why? Like, I lose a character and now
See, this is
I'm
why
down one-third
Engage
of the
was the
story?
first
No,
Fire
fuck that.
Emblem that felt like it was built around permadeath, because it gives you a constant, steady stream of new units,
And some of
as
those new
opposed
units that
to,
it gives you are cool. So
and they're
you
good.
actually
They're like
you don't
usable.
you do kind of want to see characters die. But
Whereas, in Three Houses, because you are working with such a small core cast of characters,
why would you ever let why would you ever let Bernadette die?
if they
Why?
die, then they still show up in cutscenes. So what's the point?
What's the point? Also, you're gonna miss out at like stuff to populate the interstitial stuff. So like their positions are gone, and now you're just fucking twiddling your thumbs and playing with your asshole. Like, why would I
Yeah.
do that?
What? Well, the answer is you restart.
Yeah.
And also the turn wheel. The thing is, the turn wheel and the ability to rewind in Modern Fire Emblem makes selling classic difficulty to normal humans a lot easier.
But my point still stands. Like,
Yeah,
this series needs to figure out what the fuck it wants, because
sure.
it's just awkward and weird to have like the apparently the one thing that the modern Fire Emblem team thinks that they need to continue to have persist is this permadeath, which nowadays is just a toggle.
Yeah.
So what are we doing? You can't have face touching shit and visual novel relationship stuff if you want permadeath. So
Yeah.
figure it out.
Well, please look forward to Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave coming this year.
Are we gonna rate this game or what? What's
Yeah,
the
let's rate this game. All right, so hello. Hello, the top 3 games on our list. You can find it at bit.ly/OTDE rank. The top 3 games on our list: Might and Magic 6, Suikoden, Xenosaga 1. Bottom 3: Unlimited Saga, Hoshiwo Mirohito, Descent to Undermountain. Those have not changed in the bottom 3 has changed because we played Descent to Undermountain. But
in the grand scheme of things, when I look at this bottom, it makes me realize our last couple of so there's Lunar Dragon Song. Our last couple of solstices have not generated the dog shit that I thought they would. And
that's just because, as we all know, Ancient Roman Power of Darkside is the 29th best game we've played for this podcast.
And someone asked me about this while you were not a part of my last stream. Is no one's trying to pick the best RPGs, because the best RPGs are the same shit you've heard in other podcasts.
I don't want to fucking talk about Chrono Trigger. There's nothing interesting to say about Chrono Trigger in current year. Guess what? It's fucking Chrono Trigger. Chrono Trigger is fucking amazing. You don't need us to do a fucking hour-long podcast where we're like, yeah, it's really pretty and the music is good and it's like just streamlined and fast enough that it's really well paced and it's amazing. You don't need us to say that. You don't need that. If you want us to do an episode on Chrono Trigger, go fuck yourself. No, I would never say that.
We won't do Chrono Trigger, but we are the podcast for Terranigma.
Yeah, we're the podcast for Terra Enigma, which is still on the fan pick list, and we still plan on doing.
Anyways, so that's the reason why I think we haven't actually tried
Yeah.
to crack the top
This
is
Pete technically picked this, and by picked this we mean we asked Pete if he wanted to put a game on the fan pick list, and he said, "Yeah, sure, a Fire Emblem or something." And we're like, "Okay, what about this Fire Emblem?" And he said, "Yeah, sure, that one."
I know for a
Anyway,
fact that his favorite Fire Emblem is actually Sacred Stone.
Cyber Stone's fine. Anyway, so where do you want to put this?
Well, let's as a joke start with comparing this with number 19 on the list.
Okay, number 19, Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light, the original Famicom game, the only
Other
old Fire Emblem game to
Is
receive an
that the
official
only
English
no.
localization.
Okay, is that the only other tactics game? Oh no, wait, Ogre Battle.
Yeah, Ogre Battle 64. This
So
game's
it's
better
better
than
than
Ogre
Fire
Battle.
Emblem Shadow. It's better than Shadow Dragon. So let's just go to the next one.
This
Do
game
you
is better
actually
than
think
Ogre Battle
You
64.
think it's better than Ogre Battle 64?
Yeah, it's not as
Yeah,
slow.
you're probably right. Do I like this more than Wizardry 7, which is is right above Ogre Battle 64?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, probably. Do I like it more than Undertale? Yes.
Yes.
Do I like it more than Tyranny?
Yes.
Yes. Do I like it more than Scald?
Uh,
Hmm.
y-
I
I think I'm willing to say it's better than Scald, but I don't know if I'm willing to go any more than
I would
that.
say it's better than Quest for Glory 1 in that
So,
case.
so you want Quest for Glory?
I would put this below Scald.
Okay.
I would put this below Scald because I think it just edges out of the top 10 for me.
We have such a weird fucked up top 10.
No, it at some point we will play another game that we actually like.
See,
Like
that's the problem is we have to think of
also, you know, we have different we no longer have Jeff in our life, except when we'll have him back in our life later this year. And you know, some of these early picks, I would say you know, if I had my way, certain games would be higher. But we're not here to re-rank things. Re-ranking is for cowards. We stick with our thing. Congratulations to our new number 11.
So re-ranking things is for cowards. Half stars are for cowards, according to
Half
Braden
stars
and
are for
Chris.
cowards.
Okay. So congratulations to our new number 11. Fire Emblem Genealogy of the Holy War, or whatever the original non-English name is.
Seisen no Keifu. Y'all like that Seisen no Keifu? All right, so our next game, it's my pick, and I've already been threatening this for months.
So much so that I think I've been playing this behind the scenes a couple of times.
I haven't started playing this yet, but now I will. We are going to play Breath of Fire Dragon Quarter because it's a weird, fucked up PS2 JRPG.
Well, it's a weird, fucked up PS2 game, but it's also there are people who actually like this game more than the previous Breath of Fire games.
But those people are not hardcore Breath of Fire fans.
No.
I'll put it that way. Like the people in our audience who, let's say, love Breath of Fire 3 and 4. And you know, I liked 3 quite a bit, but it's still very much like a PS1 JRPG. Whereas this is very much not.
I know for a fact that some people do not like the industrial city the industrial city Final Fantasy VII adjacent levels. I know that people really don't like the post-industrial.
I know people don't like the replay, the part where you are kind of incentivized to replay through it. Like it's almost run based in a weird way. But we'll talk about that next time on Off the Deep End.
Man, we're going back to Capcom.
Capcom. You ever hear about them?
Yeah, they're hey dude, you can joke, but they're making video games, motherfucker.
Yes, Capcom, the last maker of video games in the world, apparently.
You say that, but also like Konami has returned to making video games again?
There is a likelihood that my copy of Suikoden 5 will be worth less money because they will re-release it at some point, which is not something I was ever expecting to say. Which I guess means we'll have to do Suikoden 2 so we can put it at number 1, because Suikoden 2 is a much better game than Suikoden. Anyway, yeah, thank you for being here on Off the Deep End. You can check out the person behind our cool intro and outro music, SuperSex420, on Bandcamp. You can check out me on Twitch. You can check out Zombie Pie on Twitch. You can even check out Borgmaster on Twitch at 5th Generation Gaming, or 5thgengaming.blog, which, he sometimes does. Give us money and we'll play Raven's Cry, by the way. Give us money at patreon.com/deeplistens.
We're officially announcing that as our latest donation incentive game,
that's
right?
been announced forever.
Oh, okay.
And the people need to put their money. Give us money and we will play one of the most broken video games to ever receive a commercial release.
So much so that the version that we are going to, at least in quotations, play is no longer legally available.
Yeah, no, but don't worry, I also have the version on the version that they now sell on Steam.
This is one of my favorite things in like video games, is when a publisher actually does pull their video game and then re-release it and then beg reviewers to re-review their game. I remember this came up with Giant Bomb. They didn't review the game, but they said, no, we are not going to redo our quick look, and it was the original game. Fuck that.
Yeah. There's a whole thing behind that. People should give us money. People should support us on Patreon. It's $1. You give us $3, you can listen to our anime podcast. Did you know that our podcast on Samurai Champloo I finally bothered to edit it? You can listen to us talk about that show. It's really good. We're going to be talking about Spice Wolf, a show that I also like. It's got everything. It's got wolf goddesses. It's got discussions on the price of apples. There's no such thing as cheating in a single-player game. Yeah, that's what I say at the end of this. Hooray!
And